Section 22 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. The Flesh and the Spirit. In secret place where once I stood, close by the banks of Lackworm flood, I heard two sisters reason on things that are past and things to come. One Flesh was called, who had her eye on worldly wealth and vanity, the other Spirit, who did rear her thoughts unto a higher sphere. Sister, quoth Flesh, what livest thou on? Nothing but meditation? Doth contemplation feed thee so, regardlessly to let earth go? Can speculation satisfy notion without reality? Dost dream of things beyond the moon, and dost thou hope to dwell there soon? Hast treasures there laid up in store, that all in the world thou countest poor? Art fancy sick, or turned a sot, to catch at shadows which are not? Come, come, I'll show unto thy sense, industry hath its recompense. What canst desire but thou mayest see true substance in variety? Dost honor like? Acquire the same, as some to their immortal fame, and trophies to thy name erect, which wearing time shall ne'er deject. For riches dost thou long full sore? Behold enough of precious store? Earth hath more silver, pearls, and gold than eyes can see or hands can hold. Affectest thou pleasure? Take thy fill. Earth has enough of what you will. Then let not go what thou mayest find, for things unknown only in mind. Spirit, be still, thou ungenerate part. Disturb no more my settled heart. For I have vowed, and so will do, thee as a foe still to pursue, and combat with thee will and must, until I see thee laid in the dust. Sisters we are, yea, twins we be, yet deadly feud twixt thee and me. For from one father are we not, thou by old Adam wast begot. But my arise is from above, whence my dear father I do love. Thou speakest me fair, but hatest me sore. Thy flattering shows I'll trust no more. How oft thy slave hast thou me made, when I believed what thou hast said, and never had more cause of woe than when I did what thou badest do. I'll stop mine ears at these thy charms, and count them for my deadly harms. Thy sinful pleasures I do hate, thy riches are to me no bait. Thine honors do, nor will I love, for my ambition lies above. My greatest honor it shall be, when I am victor over thee, and triumph shall, with laurel head, when thou my captive shalt be led. How I do live thou needst not scoff, for I have meat thou knowest not of. The hidden manna I do eat, the word of life, it is my meat. My thoughts do yield me more content than can thy honors and pleasures spent. Nor are thy shadows which I catch, nor fancies vain at which I snatch, but reach at things that are so high beyond thy dull capacity. Eternal substance I do see, with which enriched I would be. Mine eye doth pierce the heavens and see what is invisible to thee. My garments are not silk or gold, nor such like trash which earth doth hold. But royal robes I shall have on, more glorious than the glistening sun. My crown not diamonds, pearls, and gold, but such as angels' heads enfold. The city where I hope to dwell, there's none on earth can parallel. The stately walls, both high and strong, are made of precious jasper stone. The gates of pearl, both rich and clear, and angels are for porters there. The streets thereon transparent gold, such as no eye didst e'er behold. A crystal river there doth run, which doth proceed from the Lamb's throne. Of life there are the waters sure, which shall remain for ever pure. Of sun or moon they have no need, for glory doth from God proceed. No candle there, nor yet torchlight, for there shall be no darksome night. From sickness and infirmity, for everyone they shall be free, nor withering age shall e'er come there, but beauty shall be bright and clear. This city pure is not for thee, for things unclean there shall not be. If I of heaven may have my fill, take thou the world and all that will. End of section 22, read by Brize C, Ohio.
Section 23 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Wilson. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. The Vanity of All Worldly Things. As he said vanity, so vain say I. O vanity, O vain all under sky, where is the man can say, Lo, I have found on brittle earth a consolation sound? What is it in honor to be set on high? No, they like beasts and sons of men shall die, and whilst they live how oft doth turn their fate. He's now a captive that was king of late. What is it in wealth, great treasures to obtain? No, that's but labor, anxious care, and pain. He heaps up riches and he heaps up sorrow. It's his today, but who's his heir tomorrow? What then content and pleasure canst thou find? More vain than all, that's but to grasp the wind. The sensual senses for a time they please. Meanwhile the conscience rage, who shall appease? What is it in beauty? No, that's but a snare. They're foul enough today that once were fair. What is it in flowering youth or manly age? The first is prone to vice, the last to rage. Where is it then in wisdom, learning, arts? Sure if on earth it must be in those parts. Yet these the wisest men of men did find but vanity, vexation of the mind. And he that knows the most doth still bemoan he knows not all that there is to be known. What is it then to do as Stoics tell? Nor laugh, nor weep, let things go ill or well. Such Stoics are but stocks, such teaching vain. While man is man, he shall have ease or pain. If not honor, beauty, age, or treasure, nor yet in learning, wisdom, youth, or pleasure, where shall I climb, sound, seek, or search to find the summum bonum which may stay my mind? There is a path no vulture's eye hath seen, where lion fierce nor lion's whelps have been, which leads unto that living crystal fount, who drinks thereof the world doth not account. The depth and sea have said, 'Tis not in me. With pearl and gold it shall not valued be. For sapphire, onyx, topaz, who would change? It's hid from eyes of men, they count it strange. Death and destruction the fame hath heard, but where and what it is from heavens declared. It brings to honor which shall ne'er decay. It stores with wealth which time can't wear away. It yieldeth pleasures far beyond conceit, and truly beautifies without deceit. Nor strength, nor wisdom, nor fresh youth shall fade, nor death shall see, but are immortal made. This pearl of price, this tree of life, This spring, who is possessed of, shall reign a king, nor change of state nor care shall ever see, but wear his crown unto eternity. This satiates the soul, this stays the mind, and all the rest but vanity we find. End of section 23. Section 24 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Wilson. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. The author to her book. Thou ill-formed offspring of my feeble brain, who after birth didst by my side remain, till snatched from thence by friends less wise than true, who thee abroad exposed to public view, made thee in rags halting to the press to trudge, where errors were not lessened, all may judge. At thy return my blushing was not small, my rambling brat, in print, should mother call. I cast thee by as one unfit for light, thy visage was so irksome in my sight. Yet being mine own, at length affection would thy blemishes amend, if so I could. I washed thy face, but more defects I saw, and rubbing off a spot still made a flaw. I stretched thy joints to make thee even feet, yet still thou runnest more hobbling than is meet. In better dress to trim thee was my mind, but naught save homespun cloth in the house I find. In this array 'mongst vulgars mayest thou roam, in critics' hands beware thou dost not come, and take thy way where yet thou art not known. If for thy father asked, say thou hadst none, and for thy mother, she alas is poor, which caused her thus to send thee out of door. End of section 24.
Section 25 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Upon a fit of sickness, annotated 1632, Aetatis Suae, 19. Twice 10 years old, not fully told, since nature gave me breath. My race is run, my thread is spun, lo, here is fatal death. All men must die, and so must I, this cannot be revoked. For Adam's sake this word God spake, when he so high provoked. Yet live I shall, this life's but small, in place of highest bliss, where I shall have all I can crave. No life is like to this. For what's this life but care and strife, since first we came from womb? Our strength doth waste, our time doth haste, and then we go to the tomb. O bubble blast, how long canst last, that always art a-breaking? No sooner blown, but dead and gone, e'en as a word that's speaking. Oh, whilst I live, this grace me give, I doing good may be, then death's the rest I shall count best, because it's thy decree. Bestow much cost, there's nothing lost, to make salvation sure. Oh, great's the gain, though got with pain, comes by profession pure. The race is run, the field is won, the victory's mine I see. Forever know, thou envious foe, the foil belongs to thee. End of section 25, read by Brize C, Ohio.
Section 26 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Thomas. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. Upon some distemper of body. In anguish of my heart, replete with woes, and wasting pains which best my body knows, in tossing slumbers on my wakeful bed, bedrenched with tears that flowed from mournful head, till nature had exhausted all her store. Then eyes lay dry, disabled to weep more, and looking up unto his throne on high, who sendeth help to those in misery, he chased away those clouds and let me see my anchor cast in the veil with safety. He eased my soul of woe, my flesh of pain, and brought me to the shore from troubled main. End of section 26.
Section 27 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Quinton Zeph. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. Before the birth of one of her children. Before the birth of one of her children. All things within this fading world have end. Adversity doth still our joys attend. No ties so strong, no friends so dear and sweet, but with death's parting blow are sure to meet. The sentence passed is most irrevocable, a common thing, yet oh, inevitable. How soon, my dear, death may my steps attend. How soon it may be thy lot to lose thy friend. We both are ignorant, yet love bids me these farewell lines to recommend to thee, that when that knot's untied that made us one, I may seem thine who in effect am none. And if I see not half my days that are due, what nature would God grant to yours and you? The many faults that well you know I have, let be interred in my oblivion's grave. If any worth or virtue were in me, let that live freshly in thy memory. And when thou feelest no grief as I no harms, yet love thy dead who long lay in thine arms. And when thy loss shall be repaid with gains, look to my little babes, my dear remains. And if thou love thyself, or lovedst me, these, O protect from stepdam's injury. And if chance to thine eyes shall bring this verse, with some sad sighs honor my absent hearse, and kiss this paper for thy love's dear sake, who with salt tears this last farewell did take. A.B. End of section 27. Section 28 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Quinton Zeph. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. To my dear and loving husband. To my dear and loving husband, if ever two were one, then surely we. If ever man were loved by wife, then thee. If ever wife was happy in a man, compare with me, ye women, if you can. I prize thy love more than whole mines of gold, or all the riches that the East doth hold. My love is such that rivers cannot quench, nor aught but love from thee give recompense. Thy love is such I can no way repay, the heavens reward thee manifold, I pray. Then while we live in love, let's so persevere, that when we live no more, we may live ever. End of section 28. Section 29 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose, remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Quinton Zeff. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose, remains, by Anne Bradstreet. A letter to her husband. A letter to her husband, absent upon public employment. My head, my heart, mine eyes, my life, nay, more, my joy, my magazine of earthly store. If two be one, as surely thou and I, how stayest thou there, whilst I at Ipswich lie? How many steps, head from the heart to sever, if but a neck soon should we be together? I, like the earth this season, mourn in black. My sun is gone, so far in his zodiac, whom whilst I enjoyed, nor storms nor frost I felt. His warmth such frigid colds did cause to melt. My chilled limbs now numbed lie forlorn. Return, return, sweet soul, from Capricorn. In this dead time, alas, what can I more than view those fruits which through thy heat I bore, which sweet contentment yield me for a space, true living pictures of their Father's face. O strange effect, now thou art southward gone, I weary grow, the tedious day so long. But when thou northward to me shalt return, I wish my sun may never set but burn within the cancer of my glowing breast, the welcome house of him, my dearest guest, where ever stay, and go not thence, till nature's sad decree shall call thee hence. Flesh of thy flesh, bone of thy bone, I here, thou there, yet both but one. A.B. End of section 29.
Section 30 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose, remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Thomas. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose, remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Another. Phoebus, make haste. The days too long be gone, the silent nights, the fittest time for moan. But stay this once, unto my suit give ear, and tell my griefs in either hemisphere. And if the whirling of thy wheels don't drown the woeful accents of my doleful sound, if in thy swift career thou canst make stay, I crave this boon, this errand by the way. Commend me to the man more loved than life. Show him the sorrows of his widowed wife. My dumpish thoughts, my groans, my brackish tears, my sobs, my longing hopes, my doubting fears. And if he love, how can he there abide? My interests more than all the world beside. He that can tell the stars or ocean sand, or all the grass that in the meads do stand, the leaves in the woods, the hails or drops of rain, or in a cornfield number every grain, or every mote that in the sunshine hops, may count my sighs and number all my drops. Tell him the countless steps that thou dost trace, that once a day thy spouse thou mayest embrace. And when thou canst not treat my loving mouth, and thy rays afar salute her from the south, but for 1 month I see no day, poor soul, like those far situate under the pole, which day by day long wait for thy arise. Oh, how they joy when thou dost light the skies! O Phoebus, hast thou but thus long from thine restrained the beams of thy beloved shine? At thy return, if so thou couldst or durst, behold a chaos blacker than the first. Tell him here's worse than a confused matter, his little world's a fathom under water. Naught but the fervor of his ardent beams hath power to dry the torrent of these streams. Tell him I would say more, but cannot well. Oppressed minds abruptest tales do well. Now post with double speed, mark what I say. By all our loves, conjure him not to stay. End of section 30.
Section 31 of The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Another. As loving hind that, heartless, once her dear, scuds through the woods and fern with hearkening ear, perplexed, in every bush and nook doth pry, her dearest dear might answer, ear or eye. So doth my anxious soul, which now doth miss a dearer dear, far dearer heart than this, still wait, with doubts and hopes and failing eye, his voice to hear, or person to descry. Or as the pensive dove doth, all alone, on withered bough, most uncouthly bemoan the absence of her love and loving mate, whose loth hath made her so unfortunate. Even thus do I, with many a deep sad groan, bewail my turtle true, who now is gone. His presence and his safe return still woo, with thousand doleful sighs and mournful coo. Or as the loving mullet, that true fish, her fellow lost, nor joy nor life doth wish, but launches on that shore there for to die, where she her captive husband doth espy. Mine being gone, I lead a joyless life. I have a loving fear, yet seem no wife. But worst of all, to him can't steer my course. I here, he there, alas, both kept by force. Return, my dear, my joy, my only love, unto thy hind, thy mullet, and thy dove, who neither joys in pasture, house, nor streams. The substance gone, oh me, these are but dreams. Together at one tree, oh, let us browse, and like two turtles roost within one house, and like the mullets in one river glide. Let us still remain but one, till death divide. Thy loving love and dearest dear, at home, abroad, and everywhere. Signed, A.B. End of section 31. Read by Deborah Beach Giordano.
Section 32 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her Prose Remains, by Anne Bradstreet. In reference to her children, 23rd June, 1659. I had 8 birds hatched in one nest, 4 cocks there were, and hens the rest. I nursed them up with pain and care, nor cost nor labor did I spare, till at the last they felt their wing, mounted the trees, and learned to sing. Chief of the brood then took his flight to regions far, and left me quite. My mournful chirps I after send, till he return, or I do end. Leave not thy nest, thy dam and sire, fly back and sing amidst this choir. My second bird did take her flight, and with her mate flew out of sight. Southward they both their course did bend, and seasons twain they there did spend, till after, blown by southern gales, they northward steered with filled sails. A prettier bird was nowhere seen along the beach among the treen. I have a third of color white, on whom I place no small delight, coupled with mate loving and true, hath also bid her dam adieu. And where Aurora first appears, she now hath perched to spend her years. One to the academy flew, to chat among the learned crew. Ambition moved still in his breast, that he might chant above the rest, striving for more than to do well. The nightingales he might excel. My fifth, whose down is yet scarce gone, is amongst the shrubs and bushes flown, and as his wings increase in strength, on higher boughs he'll perch at length. My other 3 still with me nest, till they're grown, then, as the rest, or here or there they'll take their flight. As is ordained, so shall they light. If birds could weep, then would my tears let others know what are my fears, lest this my brood some harm should catch, and be surprised for want of watch. Whilst pecking corn, and void of care, they fall unawares in fowler's snare, or whilst on trees they sit and sing, some untoward boy at them do fling, or whilst allured with bell and glass, the net be spread and caught, alas, or lest by lime twigs they be foiled, or by some greedy hawks be spoiled. Oh, would my young, you saw my breast, and knew what thoughts there sadly rest. Great was my pain when I you bred, great was my care when I you fed. Long did I keep you soft and warm, and with my wings kept off all harm. My cares are more, and fears than ever, my throbs such now as fore were never. Alas, my birds, you wisdom want, of perils you are ignorant. Oft times in grass, on trees in flight, some accident on you may light. Oh, to your safety have an eye, so happy may you live and die. Meanwhile my days in tunes I'll spend, till my weak lays with me shall end. In shady woods I'll sit and sing, things that are past to mind I'll bring, once young and pleasant as are you, but former toys, not joys, adieu. My age I will not once lament, but sing my time so near is spent, and from the top bough take my flight into a country beyond sight, where old ones instantly grow young, and there with seraphins set song. No seasons cold nor storms they see, but spring lasts to eternity. When each of you shall in your nest among your young ones take your rest, in chirping language oft them tell, you had a dam that loved you well, that did what could be done for young, and nursed you up till you were strong. And for she once would let you fly, she showed you joy and misery, taught what was good and what was ill, what would save life and what would kill. Thus gone amongst you I may live, and dead yet speak, and counsel give. Farewell, my birds, farewell, adieu, I am happy if well with you. End of section 32, read by Brize C, Ohio. Section 33 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. In memory of my dear grandchild, Elizabeth Bradstreet, who deceased August 1665, being a year and a half old. Farewell, dear babe, my heart's too much content. Farewell, sweet babe, the pleasure of mine eye. Farewell, fair flower, that for a space was lent, then taken away unto eternity. Blessed babe, why should I once bewail thy fate, or sigh the days so soon would terminate, since thou art settled in an everlasting state? By nature trees do rot when they are grown, and plums and apples thoroughly ripe do fall, and corn and grass are in their season mown, and time brings down what is both strong and tall. But plants new set to be eradicate, and buds new blown to have so short a date, is by his hand alone that guides nature and fate. End of section 33, read by Brize C, Ohio. Section 34 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. In memory of my dear grandchild, Anne Bradstreet, who deceased June 20th, 1669, being 3 years and 7 months old. With troubled heart and trembling hand I write, the heavens have changed to sorrow my delight. How oft with disappointment have I met, when I on fading things my hopes have set. Experience might for this have made me wise, to value things according to their price. Was ever stable joy yet found below, or perfect bliss without mixture of woe? I knew she was but as a withering flower, that's here today, perhaps gone in an hour. Like as a bubble, or the brittle glass, or like a shadow turning as it was. More fool then, I to look on that was lent, as if mine own, when thus impertinent. Farewell, dear child, thou ne'er shalt come to me, but yet a while, and I shall go to thee. Meantime my throbbing heart's cheered up with this, thou with thy Saviour art in endless bliss. End of section 34, read by Brize C, Ohio. Section 35 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. On my dear grandchild, Simon Bradstreet, who died on 16th November 1669, being but a month and 1 day old. No sooner come but gone, and fallen asleep. Acquaintance short, yet parting caused us weep. 3 flowers, 2 scarcely blown, the last in bud, cropped by the Almighty hand. Yet is he good. With dreadful awe before him, let's be mute. Such was his will, but why let's not dispute. With humble hearts and mouths put in the dust, let's say he's merciful as well as just. He will return and make up all our losses, and smile again after our bitter crosses. Go, pretty babe, go rest with sisters twain. Among the blessed and endless joys remain. End of section 35, read by Brize C, Ohio. Section 36 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. To the memory of my dear daughter-in-law, Mrs. Mercy Bradstreet, who deceased September 6, 1670, in the 28th year of her age. And live I still to see relations gone, and yet survive to sound this wailing tone? Ah, woe is me, to write thy funeral song, who might in reason yet have lived long. I saw the branches lop, the tree now fall, I stood so nigh it crushed me down withal. My bruised heart lies sobbing at the root, that thou, dear son, hast lost both tree and fruit. Thou then, on sea sailing to foreign coast, wast ignorant what riches thou hadst lost. But ah, too soon those heavy tidings fly, to strike thee with amazing misery. Oh, how I sympathize with thy sad heart, and in thy grief still bear a second part. I lost a daughter dear, but thou a wife, who loved thee more, it seemed, than her own life. Thou being gone, she longer could not be, because her soul she'd sent along with thee. 1 week she only passed in pain and woe, and then her sorrows all at once did go. A babe she left before she soared above, the 5th and last pledge of her dying love. Ere nature would it hither did arrive, no wonder it no longer did survive. So with her children 4 she's now at rest, all freed from grief I trust among the blessed. She one hath left, a joy to thee and me. The heavens vouchsafe she may so ever be. Cheer up, dear son, thy fainting bleeding heart, in him alone that caused all this smart. What though thy strokes full sad and grievous be, he knows it is the best for thee and me. End of section 36, read by Brize C, Ohio.
Section 37 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Adrian Stephens. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. A funeral elegy upon that pattern and patron of virtue, the truly pious, peerless, and matchless gentlewoman, Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, right Panarites, mirror of her age, glory of her sex, whose heaven-born soul, leaving its earthly shrine, chose its native home, and was taken to its rest upon 16th September 1672. Ask not why hearts turn magazines of passions, and why that grief is clad in several fashions, why she on progress goes, and doth not borrow the smallest respite from the extremes of sorrow. Her misery is got to such an height as makes the earth groan to support its weight. Such storms of woe so strongly have beset her, she hath no place for worse nor hope for better. Her comfort is, if any for her be, that none can show more cause of grief than she. Ask not why some in mournful black are clad. The sun is set, there needs to be a shade. Ask not why every face a sadness shrouds. The setting sun o'ercast us hath with clouds. Ask not why the great glory of the sky that gilds the stars with heavenly alchemy, which all the world doth lighten with his rays, the Persian god, the monarch of the days, ask not the reason of his ecstasy, paleness of late, in mid-noon majesty. Why, that the pale-faced empress of the night disrobed her brother of his glorious light. Did not the language of the stars foretell a mournful scene when they with tears did swell? Did not the glorious people of the sky seem sensible of future misery? Did not the luring heavens seem to express the world's great loss and their unhappiness? Behold how tears flow from the learned hill, how the bereaved nine do daily fill the bosom of the fleeting air with groans and woeful accents, which witness their moans. How do the goddesses of verse, the learned choir, lament their rival quill, which all admire? Could Marrow's muse but hear her lively strain, he would condemn his works to fire again. Methinks I hear the patron of the spring, the unshorn deity, abruptly sing, "Some do for anguish weep, for anger I, that ignorance should live and art should die. Black, fatal, dismal, inauspicious day, unblessed for ever by sol's precious ray. Be it the first of miseries to all, or last of life defamed for funeral. When this day yearly comes, let every one cast in their urn the black and dismal stone. Succeeding years as they their circuit go, leap o'er this day as a sad time of woe. Farewell, my muse, since thou hast left thy shrine, I am unblessed in one, but blessed in nine. Fair Thespian ladies, light your torches all, attend your glory to its funeral. To court her ashes with a learned tear, a briny sacrifice, let not a smile appear. Grave matron, whoso seeks to blaze on thee, needs not make use of wit's false heraldry. Whoso should give thee all thy worth would swell so high as it would turn the world's infidel. Had he great Marrow's muse, or Tully's tongue, or raping numbers like the Thracian song, in crowning of her merits, he would be sumptuously poor, low in hyperbole. To write is easy, but to write on thee truth would be thought to forfeit modesty. He'll seem a poet that shall speak but true, hyperboles in others are thy due. Like a most servile flatterer, he will show, though he write truth and make the subject you, virtue never dies, time will a poet raise, born under better stars shall sing thy praise. Praise her who list, yet he shall be a debtor, for art ne'er feigned nor nature framed a better. Her virtues were so great that they do raise a work to trouble fame, astonish praise. Whereas her name doth but salute the ear, men think that thy perfections abstract here. Her breast was a brave place, a broad street, where all heroic ample thoughts did meet, where nature such a tenement had ta'en, that others' souls to hers dwelt in a lane. Beneath her feet pale envy bites her chain, and poison malice whets her sting in vain. Let every laurel, every myrtle bough be stripped for leaves to adorn and load her brow. Victorious wreaths, which, 'cause they never fade, wise elder times for kings and poets made. Let not her happy memory e'er lack its worth in fame's eternal almanac, which none shall read but straight their loss deplore, and blame their fates they were not born before. Do not old men rejoice their fates did last, and infants too that theirs did make such haste? in such a welcome time, to bring them forth, that they might be a witness to her worth. Who undertakes this subject to commend, shall nothing find so hard as how to end. Fine and non, John Norton, omnia Romani filiant miracula gentis. End of section 37.
Section 38 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. For my dear son, Simon Bradstreet. Parents perpetuate their lives in their posterity, and their manners in their imitation. Children do naturally rather follow the failings than the virtues of their predecessors. But I am persuaded better things of you. You once desired me to leave something for you in writing that you might look upon when you should see me no more. I could think of nothing more fit for you, nor of more ease to myself, than these short meditations following. Such as they are, I bequeath to you. Small legacies are accepted by true friends, much more by dutiful children. I have avoided encroaching upon others' conceptions, because I would leave you nothing but mine own, though in value they fall short of all in this kind, yet I presume they will be better prized by you for the author's sake. The Lord bless you with grace here, and crown you with glory hereafter, that I may meet you with rejoicing at that great day of appearing, which is the continual prayer of your affectionate mother, Anne Bradstreet. March 20, 1664. End of section 38.
Section 39 of the Poems of Miss Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexis. The Poems of Miss Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Meditations Divine and Moral. Meditations Divine and Moral. There is no object that we see, no action that we do, no good that we enjoy, no evil that we feel or fear. But we may make some spiritual advantage of all, and he that makes such improvements is wise as well as pious. Many can speak well, but few can do well. We are better scholars in the theory than the practice part. But he is a true Christian that is a proficient in both. Youth is a time of getting, middle age of improving, and old age of spending. A negligent youth is usually attended by an ignorant middle age, and both by an empty old age. He that hath nothing to feed on but vanity and lies must need lie down in the bed of sorrow. A ship that bears much sail and little or no ballast is easily overset, and that man whose head hath great abilities and his heart little or no grace is in danger of foundering. It is reported of the peacock that priding himself in his gay feathers he ruffled them up, but spying his black feet he soon let fall his plums. So he that glorious in his gifts and adorings should look upon his corruptions, and that will damp his high thoughts. The finest bread hath the least bran, the purest honey the least wax, and the sincerest Christian the least self-love. The hireling that labors all the day comforts him, self that when night comes he shall both take his rest, and receive his reward. The painful Christian that hath wrought hard in God's vineyard, and hath borne the heat and drought of the day, when he perceives his sun apace to decline, and the shadows of his evening to be stretched out, lifts up his head with joy, knowing his refreshing is at hand. Downy beds make drowsy persons, but hard lodging keeps the eyes open. A prosperous state makes a secure Christian, but adversity makes him consider. Sweet words are like honey. A little may refresh, but too much gluts the stomach. Diverse children have their different natures. Some are like flesh, which nothing but salt will keep from petrification. Some again like tender fruits that are best preserved with sugar. Those parents are wise that could fit their nurture according to their nature. That town which thousands of enemies without hath not been able to take hath been delivered up by one traitor within. And that man which all the temptations of Satan could not hurt hath been soiled by one lust within. Authority without wisdom is like a heavy axe without an edge, fitter to bruise than polish. The reason why Christians are so loath to exchange this world for a better is because they have more sense than faith. They see what they enjoy, they do but hope for what which is to come. If we had no winter, the spring would not be so pleasant. If we did not sometimes taste of adversity, prosperity would not be so welcome. A low man could go upright under that door where a taller is glad to stoop. So a man of weak faith and mean abilities may undergo a cross more patiently than he that excels him both in gifts and graces. That house which is not often swept makes the cleanly inhabitant soon loathe it, and that heart which is not continually purifying itself is no fit temple for the Spirit of God to dwell in. Few men are so humble as not to be proud of their abilities, and nothing will abase them more than this. What hast thou but thou hast received? Come, give an account of thy stewardship. He that will undertake a climb up a steep mountain with a great burden on his back will find it a wearisome, if not an impossible task. So he that thinks to mount to heaven clogged with the cares and riches of this life, 'tis is no wonder if he faint by the way. Corn till it has passed through the mill and been ground to powder is not fit for bread. God so deals with his servant, he grinds them with grief and pain till they turn to dust, and then they are fit manchet for his mansion. God hath suitable comforts and support for his children according to their several conditions if he will make his face to shine upon them. He then makes them lie down in green pastures and leads them beside the still waters. If they stick in deep mire and clay, and all his waves and billows go over their heads, he then leads them to the rocks which is higher than they. He that walks among briars and thorns will be very careful where he sets his foot. And he that passes through the wilderness of this world had need ponder all his steps. Want of prudence as well as piety hath brought men into great inconveniences. But he that is well stored with both seldom is so ensnared. The skilful fisher hath his several baits for several fish, but there is a hook under all. Satan, that great angler, hath its sundry baits for sundry tempers of men, which they all catch greedily at, but few perceive the hook till it is too late. There is no new thing under the sun. There is nothing that can be said or done but either that or something like it hath been both done and said before. An aching head requires a soft pillow, and a drooping heart a strong support. A sore finger may disquiet the whole body, but an ulcer within destroys it. So an enemy without may disturb a commonwealth, but dissensions within overthrow it. It is a pleasant thing to behold the light, but sore eyes are not able to look upon it. The pure in heart shall see God, but the defiled in conscience shall rather choose to be buried under rocks and mountains than to behold the presence of the Lamb. Wisdom with an inheritance is good, but wisdom without an inheritance is better than an inheritance without wisdom. Lightning doth usually precede thunder, and storms rain, and strokes do not often fall till after threatening. Yellow leaves argue the want of sap, and gray hairs the want of moisture. So dry and sapless performances are symptoms of little spiritual vigor. Iron till it be thoroughly heated is incapable to be wrought. So God sees good to cast some men into the furnace of affliction, and then beats them on his anvil into what frame he pleases. Ambitious men are like hops, that never rest climbing so long as they have anything to stay upon, but take away their props, and they are of all the most dejected. Much labor wearies the body, and many thoughts oppress the mind. Man aims at profit by the one and content in the other, but often misses of both, and finds nothing but vanity and vexation of spirit. Dim eyes are the concomitants of old age, and short-sightedness in those that are eyes of a republic foretells the declining state. We read in scriptures of three sorts of arrows: the arrow of an enemy, the arrow of pestilence, and the arrow of slanderous tongue. The first two kill the body, the last the good name. The former two leave a man when he is once dead, but the last mangles him in his grave. Straw laborers have hard hands, and old sinners have brawny consciousness. Wickedness comes to its height by degrees. He that dares say of a less sin, is it not a little one? Where ere long say of a greater tush, God regards it not. Some children are hardly weaned, although the teat be rubbed with wormwood or mustard. They will either wipe it off, or else suck down sweet and bitter together. So is it with some Christians. Let God embitter all the sweets of this life, that so that they may feed upon more substantial food. Yet they are so childishly sottish that they are still hugging and sucking these empty breasts, that God is forced to hedge up their way with thorns, or lay affliction on their loins, that so they might shake hands with the world before it bid them farewell. A prudent mother will not clothe her little child with a long or cumbersome garment. She easily foresees what events it is like to produce, at the best but falls and bruises, or perhaps somewhat worse. Much more will the all-wise God proportion his dispositions according to the stature and strength of the person he bestows them on. Large endowments of honor, wealth, or a healthful body would quite overthrow some weak Christian. Therefore God cuts his garments short to keep them in such a trim that they might run the ways of his commandment. The spring is a lively emblem of the resurrection. After a long winter, we see the leafless trees and dry stalks at the approach of the sun to resume their former vigor and beauty in a more ample manner than what they lost in the autumn. So shall it be at the great day after a long vacation, when the Sun of Righteousness shall appear. Those dry bones shall arise in far more glory than that which they lost at their creation, and in this transcend the spring, that their leaf shall never fail, nor their sap decline. A wise father will not lay a burden on a child of 7 years old, which he knows is enough for one of twice his strength. Much less will our Heavenly Father, who knows our mold, lay such afflictions upon his weak children as would crush them to the dust. But according to the strength he will proportion the load. As God hath his little children, so he hath his strong men, such as are come to a full stature in Christ. And many times he imposes weighty burdens on their shoulders, and yet they go upright under them. But it matters not whether the load be more or less, if God afford his help. I have seen an end of all perfection, said the royal prophet, but he never said, I have seen an ending of all sinning. What he did say may be easily said by many, but what he did not say cannot truly be uttered by any. Fire hath its force abated by water, not by wind, and anger must be allayed by cold words, and not by blustering threats. A sharp appetite and a thorough concoction are a sign of a healthful body, so a quick reception and a deliberate cognition argue a sound mind. We often see stones hung with drops, not from any innate moisture, but from a thick air about them. So may we sometimes see marble-hearted sinners seem full of contrition, but it is not from any dew of grace within, but from black clouds that impede them, which produce these sweating effects. The words of the wise, saith Solomon, are as nails and as goads, both used for contrary ends. The one holds fast, the other puts forward. Such should be the perception of the wise master of assemblies to their hearers, not only to bid them hold fast the form of sound doctrine, but also so to run that they might obtain. A shadow in the parching sun and a shelter in a blustering storm are of all seasons the most welcome. So a faithful friend in time of adversity is of all other most comfortable. There is nothing admits of more admiration than God's various dispositions of his gifts among the son of men, betwixt whom he hath put so vast a disproportion that they scarcely seem made of the same lump or sprung out of the loins of one Adam. Some set in the highest dignity that morality is capable of, and some again so base that they are viler than the earth. Some so wise and learned that they seem like angels among men, and some again so ignorant and sottish that they are more like beasts than men. Some pious saints, some incarnate devils, some exceeding beautiful, and some extremely deformed. Some so strong and healthful that their bones are full of marrow and their breast of milk, and some again so weak and feeble that, while they live, they are accounted among the dead. And no other reason can be given of all this but so it pleased him whose will is the perfect rule of righteousness. The treasures of this world may well be compared to husk, for they have no kernel in them, and they that fed upon them may soon stuff their throats but cannot fill their bellies. They may be choked by them, but cannot be satisfied with them. Sometimes the sun is only shadowed by a cloud that we cannot see his luster. Although we may walk by his light, but when he is set we are in darkness till he arise again. So God doth sometimes veil his face but for a moment, that we cannot behold the light of his countenance as at some other time. Yet he affords so much light as may direct our way, that we may go forward to the city of habitation. But when he sees to set and be quite gone out of sight, then must we needs walk in darkness and see no light. Yet then must we trust in the Lord and stay upon our God. And when the morning, which is the appointed time, is come, the Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings. The eyes and the ears are the inlets of doors in the soul, through which innumerable objects enter. Yet is not that spacious filled room, neither doth it ever say, "It is enough." But like the daughters of the horse leech cries, "Give, give," and which is most strange, the more it receives, the more empty it finds itself, and sees it impossibly ever to be filled by him in whom all fullness dwells. Had not the wisest of men taught us this lesson, that all is vanity and vexation of spirit, your own experience would soon have spelled it out. For what do we obtain of all these things but it is with labor and vexation? When we enjoy them, it is with vanity and vexation, and if we lose them, they are less than vanity and more than vexation. So that we have good cause often to repeat that sentence, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. He that is to sail into a far country, although the ship, cabin, and provision be all convenient and comfortable for him, yet he hath no desire to make that his place of residence, but longs to put in at that port where his business lies. A Christian is sailing through the world unto his heavenly court, and here he hath many conveniences and comforts, but he must beware of desiring to make this the place of his abode, lest he meet with such tossings that may cause him to long for shore before he sees land. We must therefore be here as strangers and pilgrims, that we may plainly declare that we seek a city above, and wait all the days of our appointed time till our change shall come. He that never felt what it was to be sick or wounded doth not much care for the company of the physician or chirurgeon. But if he perceive a malady that threatens him with death, he will gladly entertain him whom he slighted before. So he that never felt the sickness or sin nor the wounds of a guilty conscience cares not how far he keeps from him that hath skill to cure it. But when he finds the disease to distress him, and that he must needs perish if he have no remedy, will unfeignedly bid him welcome that brings a plaster for his sore or a cordial for his fainting. We read of 10 lepers that were cleansed, but of one that returned thanks. We are more ready to receive mercies than we are to acknowledge them. Men can use great importunity when they are in distresses, and show great ingratitude after their successes. But he that ordereth his conversation aright will glorify him that heard him in the day of his trouble. The remembrance of former deliverance is a great support in present distresses. He that delivered me, saith David, from the paw of the lion, of the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the uncircumcised Philistine. And he that hath delivered me, saith Paulus, will deliver me. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We are the same that stand in need of him, today as well as yesterday, and so shall forever. Great receipts call for great returns. The more that any man is entrusted withal, the larger his account set upon God's score. It therefore behooves every man so to improve his talents, that when his great master shall call him to reckoning, he may receive his own with advantage. Sin and shame ever go together. He that would be free from the last must be sure to shun the company of the first. God doth many times both reward and punish for one and the same action. As we see in Jehu, he is rewarded with a kingdom to the fourth generation for taking vengeance on the house of Habab. And yet a little while, saith God, and I will avenge the blood of Jezebel upon the house of Jehu. He was rewarded with the matter, and yet punished for the manner, which should warn him that doth any special service for God to fix his eye on the command, and not on his own ends, lest he meet with Jehu's reward, which will end in punishment. He that would be content with the mean condition must not cast his eye upon one that is in a far better estate than himself, but let him look upon him that is lower than he is. And if he sees such a one bears poverty comfortably, it will help to quiet him. But if that will not do, let him look on his own unworthiness, and that will make him say with Jacob, I am less than a less of thy mercies. Corn is produced with much labor, as the husbandman well knows, and some land ask much more pains than others than doth to be brought into tilth. Yet all must be plowed and harrowed. Some children, like sour land, are of so tough and morose of disposition that the plow of correction must make long furrows on their back, and the horror of discipline go often over them before they be fit soil to sow the seed of morality, much less of grace in them. But when be prudent in nurture, they are brought into a fit capacity. Let the seed of good instruction and exhortations be sown in the spring of their youth, and a plentiful crop may be expected in the harvest of their years. As man is called the little world, so his heart may be called the little commonwealth. His more fixed and resolved thoughts are like to inhabitants, his slight and flitting thoughts are like passengers that travel to and fro continually. Here is also the great court of justice erected, which is always kept by conscience, who is both accusers, excusers, witness, and judge, whom no bribes can pervert, no flattery cause to favor. But as he finds the evidence, so he absolves or condemns. Yes, so absolute in this court of judicature that there is no appeal from it. No, not to the court of heaven itself, for if our conscience condemns us, he also who is greater than our conscience would do it much more. But he that would have boldness to go to the throne of grace to be accepted there must be sure to carry a certificate from the court of conscience that he stands right there. He that would keep a pure heart and lead a blameless life must set himself always in the awful presence of God. The consideration of his all-seeing eye will be a bridle to restrain from evil and a spur to quicken on to good duties. We certainly dream of some remoteness betwixt God and us, or else we should not so often fail in our whole course of life as we do. But he that with David sets the Lord always in his sight will not sin against him. We see in orchids some trees so fruitful that the weight of their burden is the breaking of their limbs. Some again are but meanly laden, and some have nothing to show but leaves only, and some among them are dry stalks. So is it in the church, which is God's orchid. There are some eminent Christians that are so frequent in good duties that many times the weight thereof impairs both their bodies and estates. And there are some, and they sincere ones too, who have not attained to that fruitfulness, although they aim at perfection. And again, there are others that have nothing to commend them but only a gay profession. And these are but leafy Christians, which are in as much danger of being cut down as the dry stalks, for both cumber the ground. We see in the firmament there is but one sun among a multitude of stars, and those stars also to differ much one from the other in regard of bigness and brightness. Yet all receive their light from that one sun. So is it in the church both militant and triumphed. There is but one Christ, who is the Son of righteousness. In the midst of an innumerable company of saints and angels, those saints have their degrees even in this life. Some are stars of the first magnitude, and some are of a less degree in others, and they indeed the most in number. But small and obscure, yet all receive their luster, be it more or less from the glorious sun that enlants all in awe. And if some of them shine so brightly while they move on earth, how transcendently splendid shall they be when they are fixed in their heavenly spheres. Men that have walked very extravagantly, and at last bethink themselves of turning to God, the first thing which they eye is how to reform their ways rather than to beg forgiveness for their sins. Nature looks more at a compensation than at a pardon, but he that will not come for mercy without money and without price, but brings his filthy rags to barter for it, shall meet with miserable disappointment, going away empty, bearing the reproach of his pride and folly. All the works and doings of God are wonderful, but none more awful than his great work of election and reprobation. When we consider how many good parents have had bad children, and again how many bad parents have had pious children, it should make us adore the sovereignty of God, and who will not be tied to time nor place, nor yet to persons, but take and chooses when and where and whom he pleases. It should also teach the children of godly parents to walk with fear and trembling lest they, through unbelief, fall short of a promise. It may also be a support to such as have or have wicked parents, that if they abide not in unbelief, God is able to grant them in. The upshot of all should make us, with the apostle, to admire the justice and mercy of God, and say, how unsearchable are his ways, and his footsteps past finding out. The gifts that God bestow on the sons of men are not only abused, but most commonly employed for a clean contrary end, than that which they are given for, as health, wealth, and honor, which might be so many steps to draw men to God in consideration of his bounty toward them, but have driven them the further from him, that they are ready to say, We are Lord's, we will come no more at thee. If outward blessings be not as wings to help us mount upward, they will certainly prove clogs and weights that will pull us lower downward. All the comforts of this life may be compared to the gourd of Jonah, that notwithstanding we take great delight for a season in them, and find their shadow very comfortable, yet there is some worm or other of discontent or fear or grief that lies at the root, which in great part withers the pleasure which else we should take in them. As well it is that we perceive a decay in their greenness for their earthly comforts permanent, who would look for heavenly. All men are truly said to be tenants at will, and it may as truly be said that all have a lease of their own lives, some longer, some shorter, as it pleases our great landlord to let. All have their bounds set, over which they cannot pass, and till the expiration of that time no dangers, no sickness, no pains or troubles shall put a period to our days. The certainty that the times will come, together with the uncertainty now, where and when, should make us to number our days as to apply our hearts to wisdom, that when we are put out of these houses of clay, we may be sure of an everlasting habitation that fades not away. All weak and diseased bodies have hourly mementos of their morality, but the soundest of men have likewise their nightly monitor by the emblem of death, which is their sleep. For so is death often called, and not only their death, but their grave is lively represented before their eyes by beholding their bed. The morning may mind them of the resurrection and the sun approaching, of the appearance of the Son of Righteousness, at whose coming they shall all rise out of their beds, the long night shall flee away, and the day of eternity shall never end. Seeing these things must be, what manner of persons ought we to be in all good conversation? As the brands of a fire, if once severed, will of themselves go out, although you use no other means to extinguish them, so distance of place, together with length of time, if there be no intercourse, will cool the affections of intimate friends, though there should be no displeasance between them. A good name is as a precious ointment, and it is a great favor to have a good repute among good men. Yet it is also not that which commends us to God, for by his balance we must be weighted, and by his judgment we should be tried. And as he passes the sentence, so shall we stand. Well doth the apostle call riches deceitful riches, and they may truly be compared to deceitful friends who speak fair and promise much, but perform nothing, and so leave those in the lurch that must rely on them. So is it with the wealth, honors, and pleasures of this world, which miserably delude men and make them put great confidence in them. But when death threatens and distresses lays hold upon them, they prove like the reeds of Egypt that pierce instead of supporting, like empty wells in the time of drought, that those that go to find water in them return with their empty pitchers ashamed. It is admirable to consider the power of faith, by which all things are almost possible to be done. It could remove mountains, if need were. It hath stayed the course of the sun, raised the dead, cast out devils, reversed the order of nature, quenched the violence of the fire, made the water become firm footing for Peter to walk on. Nay, more than all these, it hath overcome the Omnipotent himself. As when Moses interceded for the people, God said to him, Let me alone, that I may destroy them. As if Moses had been able, by the hand of faith, to hold the everlasting arms of the mighty God of Jacob. Yeah, Jacob himself, when he wrestled with God face to face in Peniel, Let me go, said that angel. I will not let thee go, replied Jacob, till thou bless me. Faith is not only thus potent, but it is so necessary that without faith there is no salvation. Therefore, with all our seekings and gettings, let us above all seek to obtain this pearl of price. Some Christians do by their lust and corruption, as the Israelites did by the Canaanites, not destroy them, but put them under tribute, for that they could do as they thought, with less hazard and more profit. But what was the issue? They became a snare unto them, pricks in their eyes and thorns in their sides, and at last overcame them and kept them under slavery. So it is most certain that those that are disobedient to the command of God, and endeavor not to the utmost to drive out all their accursed inmates, but make a league with them, they shall at least fall unto perpetual bondage under them, unless the great deliverer, Christ Jesus, come to their rescue. God hath by his providence so ordered that no one country hath all commodities within itself. But what it wants another shall supply, that so there may be a mutual commerce through the world. As it is with countries, so it is with men. There was never yet any one man that had all excellences. Let his parts natural and acquired, spiritual and moral, be never so large, yet he stands in need of something which another man hath perhaps meaner than himself, which shows us perfection is not below, and also that God will have us beholden one to another. My honored and dear mother intended to have filled up this book with the like observations, but was prevented by death. Note by Simon Bradstreet, Jr. J. The matter of the succeeding pages was at a later date copied into the same journal by her son Simon, with this note: a true copy of a book left by my honored and dear mother to her children, and found among some papers after her death. End of section 39. Section 40 of the Poems of Miss Anne Bradstreet, together with her Prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexis. The Poems of Miss Anne Bradstreet, together with her Prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. To my dear children. To my dear children, this book, by any yet unread, I leave for you when I am dead, that, being gone, here you may find what was your living mother's mind. Make use of what I leave in love, and God shall bless you from above. A.B. My dear children. I, knowing by experience that the exhortations of parents take most effect when the speaker leaves to speak, and those especially sink deepest which are spoke latest, and being ignorant whether on my deathbed I shall have opportunity to speak to any of you, much less to all, thought it the best, while I was able to compose some short matters, for what else to call them I know not, and bequeath to you, that when I am no more with you yet I may be daily in your remembrance, although that is the least in my aim in what I now do, but that you may gain some spiritual advantage by my experience. I have not studied in this you read to show my skill, but to declare the truth, not to set forth myself, but the glory of God. If I had minded the former, it had been perhaps better pleasing to you. But seeing the last is the best, let it be best pleasing to you. The method I will observe shall be this: I will begin with God's dealing with me from my childhood to this day. In my young years, about 6 or 7, as I take it, I began to make conscious of my ways, and what I knew was sinful, as lying, disobedience to parents, etc. I avoided it. If at any time I was overtaken with the like evils, it was a great trouble. I could not be at rest till my prayer I had confessed it unto God. I was also troubled at the neglect of private duties, though too often tardy that way. I also found much comfort in reading the Scriptures, especially those places I thought most concerned my condition. And as I grew to have more understanding, so the more solace I took in them. In a long fit of sickness which I had on my bed, I often communed with my heart, and made my supplication to the Most High, who set me free from that affliction. But as I grew up to be about 14 or 15, I found my heart more carnal, and setting loose from God, vanity and the follies of youth take hold of me. About 16, the Lord laid his hand sore upon me, and smote me with the smallpox when I was in my affliction. I besought the Lord, and confessed my pride and vanity, and he was entreated of me, and again restored me. But I rendered not to him according to the benefit received. After a short time I changed my condition, and was married, and came into this country, where I found a new world and new manners, at which my heart rose. But after I was convinced it was the way of God, I submitted to it, and joined to the Church of Boston. After some time I fell into a lingering sickness like a consumption, together with a lameness, which correction I saw the Lord sent to humble and try me and do me good, and it was not altogether ineffectual. It pleased God to keep me a long time without a child, which was a great grief to me, and cost me many prayers and tears before I obtained one. And after him gave me many more, of whom I now take the care, that as I have brought you into the world, and with great pains, weakness, cares, and fears brought you to this, I now travail in birth again of you till Christ be formed in you. Among all my experiences of God's gracious dealings with me, I have constantly observed this, that he hath never suffered me long to set loose from him, but by one affliction or other hath made me look home, and search what was amiss. So usually thus it hath been with me, that I have no sooner felt my heart out of order, but I have expected correction for it, which most commonly hath been upon my own person in sickness, weakness, pains, sometimes on my soul in doubts and fears of God's displeasure and my sincerity towards him. Sometimes he hath smote a child with sickness, sometimes chastened by loss in estate. And these times, through his great mercy, have been the times of my greatest getting an advantage. Yea, I have found them the times when the Lord hath manifested the most love to me. Then have I gone to searching, and have said with David, Lord, search me and try me, see what ways of wickedness are in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. And seldom or never but I have found either some sin I lay under which God would have reformed, or some duty neglected which he would have performed. And by his help I have laid vows and vowed upon my soul to perform his righteous commands. If at any time you are chastened of God, take it as thankfully and joyfully as in greatest mercies, for it ye be his ye shall reap the greatest benefit by it. It hath been no small support to me in times of darkness, when the Almighty hath hid his face from me, that yet I had had abundance of sweetness and refreshment after affliction, and more circumspection in my walking after I had been afflicted. I have been with God like an untoward child, that no longer than the rod has been on my back, or at least in sight, but I have been apt to forget him and myself too. Before I was afflicted I went astray, but now I keep thy statutes. I have had great experience of God's hearing my prayers and returning comfortable answers to me, either in granting the thing I prayed for, or else in satisfying my mind without it. And I have been confident it hath been from me, because I have found my heart through his goodness enlarged in thankfulness to him. I have often been perplexed that I have not found that constant joy in my pilgrimage, and refreshing which I suppose most of the servants of God have, although he hath not left me altogether without the witness of his Holy Spirit, who hath oft given me his word and set to his seal that it shall be well with me. I have sometimes tasted of that hidden manna that the world knows not, and have set up my Ebenezer, and have resolved with myself that against such a promise, such taste of sweetness, the gates of hell shall never prevail. Yet have I many times sinkings and droopings, and not enjoyed that felicity that sometimes I have done. But when I have been in darkness and seen no light, yet have I desired to stay myself upon the Lord. And when I have been in sickness and pain, I have thought if the Lord would but lift up the light of his countenance upon me. Although he grind me to powder, it would be but light to me. Yea, oft have I thought, were it hell itself, and could there find the love of God toward me, it would be a heaven. And could I have been in heaven without the love of God, it would have been a hell for me. For, in truth, it is the absence and presence of God that makes heaven or hell. Many times hath Satan troubled me concerning the verity of the Scriptures. Many times by atheism, how I could know whether there is a God. I never saw any miracles to confirm me, and those which I read, of how did I know but they were feigned? That there is a God, my reason would soon tell me by the wondrous works that I see. The vast frame of the heaven and the earth, the order of all things, night and day, summer and winter, spring and autumn. The daily providing for this great household upon the earth, the preserving and directing of all its proper end, the consideration of these things would with amazement certainly resolve me that there is an eternal being. But how should I know that he is such a God as I worship in Trinity, as such a Saviour as I rely upon? Though this hath thousands of times been suggested to me, yet God hath helped me over. I have argued thus with myself, that there is a God I see. If ever this God hath revealed himself, it must be in his word, and this must be it or none. Have I not found that operation by it that no human invention can work upon the soul? Have not judgments befallen divers who have scorned and contemned it? Hath it not been preserved through all ages, maugre all the heathen tyrants and all the enemies who have opposed it? Is there any story but that which shows the beginning of time, and how the world came to be as we see? Do we not know the prophecies in it fulfilled, which could not have been so long foretold by any but God himself? When I have got over this block, then have I another put in my way, that admit this be the true God whom we worship, and that be his word. Yet why may not the popish religion be the right? They have the same God, the same Christ, the same word, they only interpret it one way, we another. This hath sometimes stuck with me, or more it would be the vain fooleries that are in their religion, together with their lying miracles and cruel persecutions of the saints, which admit were they as they term them, yet not so to be dealt with how, the consideration of these things and many the like would soon turn me to my own religion again. But some new troubles I have had since the world has been filled with blasphemy and psychologies, and some who have been accounted sincere Christians have been carried away with them, that sometimes I have said, is there faith upon the earth? And I have not known what to think. But then I have remembered the words of Christ, that so it must be, and that if it were possible, and very elect should be deceived. Behold, saith our Saviour, I have told you before,
that hath stayed my heart, and I can now say, Return, O my soul, to thy rest. Upon this rock, Christ Jesus, will I build my faith. And if I perish, I perish. But I know all the powers of hell shall never prevail against it. I know whom I have trusted and whom I have believed, and that he is able to keep that I have committed to his charge. Now to the King, immortal, eternal, and invisible, the only wise God, be honored and glory for ever and ever. Amen. This was written in much sickness and weakness, and is very weakly and imperfectly done. But if you could pick any benefit out of it, it is the mark which I aimed at. End of section 40.
Section 41 of the Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by pattymarie. The Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Ann Bradstreet. By night, when others soundly slept. By night, when others soundly slept, and had at once both ease and rest, my waking eyes were open kept, and so to lie I found it best. I sought him whom my soul did love, with tears I sought him earnestly. He bowed his ear down from above, in vain I did not seek or cry. My hungry soul he filled with good, he in his bottle put my tears. My smarting wounds washed in his blood, and banished thence my doubts and fears. What to my Saviour shall I give, who freely hath done this for me? I'll serve him here whilst I shall live, and love him to eternity. End of section 41.
Section 42 of the Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Thomas. The Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Ann Bradstreet. For deliverance from a fever. When sorrows had begirt me round, and pains within and out, when in my flesh no part was found, then didst thou rid me out. My burning flesh in sweat did boil, my aching head did break, from side to side for ease I toil, so faint I could not speak. Beclouded was my soul with fear of thy displeasure sore, nor could I read my evidence, which oft I read before. Hide not thy face from me, I cried, from burnings keep my soul. Thou knowest my heart, and hast me tried. I on thy mercies roll. O heal my soul, thou knowest I said, though flesh consume to naught. What though in dust it shall be laid, to glory it shall be brought. Thou heardest thy rod, thou didst remove, and spared my body frail. Thou showest to me thy tender love, my heart no more might quail. O praises to my mighty God, praise to my Lord I say, who hath redeemed my soul from pit. Praises to him for a. End of section 42. Section 43 of the Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Thomas. The Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains, by Ann Bradstreet. From another sore fit. In my distress I sought the Lord, when naught on earth could comfort give. And when my soul these things abhorred, then, Lord, thou sayest unto me, Live. Thou knowest the sorrows that I felt, my plaints and groans were heard of thee, and how in sweat I seemed to melt. Thou helpest, and thou regardest me. My wasted flesh thou didst restore, my feeble loins didst gird with strength. Yea, when I was most low and poor, I said, I shall praise thee at length. What shall I render to my God for all his bounty showed to me? E'en for his mercies in his rod, where pity most of all I see? My heart I wholly give to thee. O make it fruitful, faithful Lord. My life shall dedicated be to praise in thought, in deed, in word. Thou knowest no life I did require, longer than still thy name to praise, nor aught on earth worthy desire. In drawing out these wretched days, thy name and praise to celebrate, O Lord, for I is my request. O grant I do it in this state, and then with thee, which is the best. End of section 43. Section 44 of the Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Thomas. The Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains, by Ann Bradstreet. Deliverance from a fit of fainting. Worthy art thou, O Lord of praise, but it's not in me. My sinking heart I pray thee raise, so shall I give it thee. My life as spiders' webs cut off, thus fainting have I said, and living man no more shall see, but be in silent laid. My feeble spirit thou didst revive, my doubting thou didst chide, and though as dead madest me alive, I here a while might abide. Why should I live but to thy praise? My life is hid with thee, O Lord, no longer be my days, than I may fruitful be. End of section 44.
Section 45 of the Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Larry Wilson. The Poems of Mrs. Ann Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains, by Ann Bradstreet. Meditations when my soul hath been refreshed with the consolations which the world knows not. Lord, why should I doubt any more when thou hast given me such assured pledges of thy love? First, thou art my Creator, I thy creature, thou my master, I thy servant. But hence arises not my comfort. Thou art my Father, I thy child. Ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. Christ is my brother. I ascend unto my Father and your Father, unto my God and your God. But lest this should not be enough, thy Maker is thy husband. Nay more, I am a member of his body. he my head. Such privileges had not the word of truth made them known. Who or where is the man that durst in his heart have presumed to have thought it? So wonderful are these thoughts that my spirit fails in me at the consideration thereof. And I am confounded to think that God, who hath done so much for me, should have so little from me. But this is my comfort. When I come into heaven, I shall understand perfectly what he hath done for me, and then shall I be able to praise him as I ought. Lord, having this hope, let me purify myself as thou art pure, and let me be no more afraid of death, but even desire to be dissolved and be with thee, which is best of all. July 8th, 1656. I had a sore fit of fainting, which lasted 2 or 3 days, but not in that extremity which at first it took me. And so much the sorer it was to me because my dear husband was from home, who is my chiefest comforter on earth. But my God, who never failed me, was not absent, but helped me, and graciously manifested his love to me, which I dare not pass by without remembrance, that it may be a support to me when I shall have occasion to read this thereafter, and to others that shall read it when I shall possess that I now hope for, that so they may be encouraged to trust in him who is the only portion of his servants. O Lord, let me never forget thy goodness, nor question thy faithfulness to me. For thou art my God. Thou hast said, and shall not I believe it? Thou hast given me a pledge of that inheritance thou hast promised to bestow upon me. O never let Satan prevail against me, but strengthen my faith in thee, till I shall attain the end of my hopes, even the salvation of my soul. Come, Lord Jesus, come quickly. What God is like to him I serve? What Saviour like to mine? O never let me from thee swerve, for truly I am thine. My thankful mouth shall speak thy praise, my tongue shall talk of thee. On high my heart, O do thou raise, for what thou hast done for me. Go, worldlings, to your vanities, and heathen to your gods. Let them help in adversities, and sanctify their rods. My God, he is not like to yours, yourselves shall judges be. I find his love, I know his power, a succourer of me. He is not man that he should lie, nor son of man to unsay. His word he plighteth hath on high, and I shall live for aye. And for his sake that faithful is, that died but now doth live, the first and last that lives for aye, me lasting life shall give. My soul, rejoice thou in thy God, boast of him all the day. Walk in his law, and kiss his rod, cleave close to him alway. What though thy outward man decay, thy inward shall wax strong. Thy body vile, it shall be changed, and glorious made ere long. With angels' wings thy soul shall mount to bliss unseen by eye, and drink at unexhausted fount of joy into eternity. Thy tears shall all be dried up, thy sorrows all shall flee. Thy sins shall ne'er be summoned up, nor come in memory. Then shall I know what thou hast done for me, unworthy me, and praise thee shall e'en as I ought for wonders that I see. Base world, I trample on thy face, thy glory I despise, nor gain I find in aught below, for God hath made me wise. Come, Jesus, quickly. Blessed Lord, thy face when shall I see? O let me count each hour a day, till I dissolved be. August 28th, 1656. After much weakness and sickness, when my spirits were worn out, and many times my faith weak likewise, the Lord was pleased to uphold my drooping heart, and to manifest his love to me. And this is that which stays my soul, that this condition that I am in is best for me. For God doth not afflict willingly, nor take delight in grieving the children of men. He hath no benefit from my adversity, nor is he the better for my prosperity. But he doth it for my advantage, and that I may be a gainer by it. And if he knows that weakness and a frail body is the best to make me a vessel fit for his use, why should I not bear it? Not only willingly, but joyfully. The Lord knows I dare not desire that help that sometimes I have had, lest my heart should be drawn from him and set upon the world. Now I can wait, looking every day when my Saviour shall call for me. Lord, grant that while I live, I may do that service I am able in this frail body, and be in continual expectation of my change. And let me never forget thy great love to my soul, so lately expressed, when I could lie down and bequeath my soul to thee, and death seemed no terrible thing. O let me ever see thee, that thou art invisible, and I shall not be unwilling to come, though by so rough a messenger. May 11th, 1657. I had a sore sickness, and weakness took hold of me, which hath by fits lasted all this spring till this 11th May. Yet hath my God given me many a respite, and some ability to perform the duties I owe to him and the work of my family. Many a refreshment have I found in this my weary pilgrimage, and in this valley of Baca many pools of water. That which now I chiefly labor for is a contented, thankful heart under my affliction and weakness, seeing it is the will of God it should be thus. Who am I that I should repine at his pleasure, especially seeing it is for my spiritual advantage? For I hope my soul shall flourish while my body decays, and the weakness of this outward man shall be a means to strengthen my inner man. Yet a little while, and he that shall come, and will not tarry. May 13th, 1657. As spring the winter doth succeed, and leaves the naked trees do dress, the earth all black as clothed in green, at sunshine each their joy express. My sons returned with healing wings, my soul and body do rejoice, my heart exults and praises sings to him that heard my wailing voice. My winter's past, my storms are gone, and former clouds seem now all fled. But if they must eclipse again, I'll run where I was succoured. I have a shelter from the storm, a shadow from the fainting heat. I have access unto his throne, who is a God so wondrous great. O thou hast made my pilgrimage thus pleasant, fair, and good. Blessed me in youth and elder age. My Baca made a springing flood. I studious am what I shall do to show my duty with delight. All I can give is but thine own, and at the most a simple mite. September 30th, 1657. It pleased God to visit me with my old distemper of weakness and fainting, but not in that sore manner sometimes he hath. I desire not only willingly, but thankfully to submit to him, for I trust it is out of his abundant love to my straying soul, which in prosperity is too much in love with the world. I have found by experience I can no more live without correction than without food. Lord, with thy correction give instruction and amendment, and then thy strokes shall be welcome. I have not been refined in the furnace of affliction, as some have been, but have rather been preserved with sugar than brine. Yet will he preserve me in his heavenly kingdom. Thus, dear children, have ye seen many sicknesses and weaknesses that I have passed through, to the end that, if you meet with the like, you may have recourse to the same God who hath heard and delivered me, and will do the like for you if you trust in him. And when he shall deliver you out of distress, forget not to give him thanks, but walk more closely with him than before. This is the desire of your loving mother. A.B. End of section 45.
Section 46 of The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Upon my son Samuel, his going for England, November 6, 1657. Thou mighty God of sea and land, I here resign unto thy hand the son of prayers, of vows, of tears, the child I stayed for many years. Thou heardest me then, and gavest him me. Hear me again, I give him thee. He's mine, but more, O Lord, thine own, for sure thy grace on him is shown. No friend I have like thee to trust, for mortal helps are brittle dust. Preserve, O Lord, from storms and wreck, protect him there, and bring him back. And if thou shalt spare me a space, that I again may see his face, then I shall celebrate thy praise, and bless thee for all my days. If otherwise I go to rest, thy will be done, for that is best. Persuade my heart I shall him see, for ever happified with thee. May 11, 1661. It hath pleased God to give me a long time of respite for these 4 years, that I have had no great fit of sickness. But this year, from the middle of January till May, I have been by fits very ill and weak. The first of this month I had a fever seated upon me, which indeed was the longest and sorest that ever I had, lasting 4 days, and the weather being very hot made it the more tedious. But it pleased the Lord to support my heart in his goodness, and to hear my prayers, and to deliver me out of adversity. But alas! I cannot render unto the Lord according to all his loving kindness, nor take the cup of salvation with thanksgiving as I ought to do. Lord, thou that knowest all things, knowest that I desire to testify my thankfulness, not only in word but in deed, that my conversation may speak that thy vows are upon me. My thankful heart with glorying tongue shall celebrate thy name, who hath restored, redeemed, recured from sickness, death, and pain. I cried, thou seemest to make some stay. I sought more earnestly, and in due time thou succoredest me, and sentest me help from high. Lord, whilst my fleeting time shall last, thy goodness let me tell, and new experience I have gained, my future doubts repel. A humble, faithful life, O Lord, for ever let me walk. Let my obedience testify, my praise lies not in talk. Accept, O Lord, my simple mite, for more I cannot give. What thou bestowest I shall restore, for of thine alms I live. End of section 46. Read by Deborah Beach Giordano.
Section 47 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. For the restoration of my dear husband from a burning ague, June 1661. When fears and sorrows me beset, then didst thou rid me out. When heart did faint and spirits quail, thou comfortedst me about. Thou raisedst him up I feared to lose, regavest me him again. Distempers thou didst chase away, with strength didst him sustain. My thankful heart, with pen record, the goodness of thy God. Let thy obedience testify, he taught thee by his rod, and with his staff did thee support, that thou by both mayest learn, and twixt the good and evil way at last thou mightest discern. Praises to him who hath not left my soul as destitute, nor turned his ear away from me, but granted hath my suit. End of section 47.
Section 48 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Anna Richardson. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains by Anne Bradstreet. Upon my daughter Hannah Wiggin, her recovery from a dangerous fever. Blessed be thy name, who didst restore to health my daughter dear, when death did seem to approach, and life was ended near. Grant she remember what thou hast done, and celebrate thy praise, and let her conversation say she loves thee all thy days. End of section 48.
Section 49 of The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains, by Anne Bradstreet. On my son's return out of England, July 17, 1661. All praise to him who hath now turned my fears to joys, my sighs to song, my tears to smiles, my sad to glad. He's come, for whom I waited long. Thou didst preserve him as he went, in raging storms did safely keep, did that ship bring to quiet port, the other sank low in the deep. From dangers great thou didst him free, of pirates who were near at hand, and ordered so the adverse wind, that he before them got to land. In country strange thou didst provide, and friends raised him in every place, and courtesies of sundry sorts, from such as fore ne'er saw his face. In sickness when he lay full sore, his help and his physician wert. When royal ones that time did die, thou healedst his flesh, and cheered his heart. From troubles and encumbers thou, without all fraud, did set him free, that without scandal he might come to the land of his nativity. On eagle's wings him hither brought, through want and dangers manifold, and thus hath granted my request, that I thy mercies might behold. O help me pay my vows, O Lord, that ever I may thankful be, and may put him in mind of what thou hast done for him, and so for me. In both our hearts erect a flame of duty and of thankfulness, that all thy favors great received, our upright walking may express. O Lord, grant that I may never forget thy loving kindness in this particular, and how graciously thou hast answered my desires. End of section 49. Read by Deborah Beach Giordano.
Section 50 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Adrian Stephens. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, Together with Her Prose Remains, by Anne Bradstreet. Upon my dear and loving husband, his going into England, January 16, 1661. O thou most high, who rulest all, and hearest the prayers of thine, O hearken, Lord, unto my suit, and my petition's sign. Into thy everlasting arms of mercy I commend thy servant, Lord. Keep and preserve my husband, my dear friend. At thy command, O Lord, he went, nor naught could keep him back. Then let thy promise joy his heart. O help and be not slack. Upon my heart in thee, O God, thou art my strength and stay. Thou seest how weak and frail I am. Hide not thy face away. I, in obedience to thy will, thou knowest, did submit. It was my duty so to do. O Lord, accept of it. Unthankfulness for mercies past impute thou not to me. O Lord, thou knowest my weak desire was to sing praise to thee. Lord, be thou pilot to the ship, and send them prosperous gales. In storms and sickness, Lord, preserve, thy goodness never fails. Unto thy work he hath in hand, Lord, grant thou good success, and favour in their eyes to whom he shall make his address. Remember, Lord, thy folk whom thou to wilderness hast brought. Let not thine own inheritance be sold away for naught. But tokens of thy favour give. With joy send back my dear, that I and all thy servants may rejoice with heavenly cheer. Lord, let my eyes see once again him whom thou gavest me, that we together may sing praise for ever unto thee. And the remainder of our days shall consecrated be, with an engaged heart to sing all praises unto thee. End of section 50.
Section 51 of the Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by pattymarie. The Poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet, together with her prose remains, by Anne Bradstreet. In my solitary hours. In my solitary hours, in my dear husband, his absence. O Lord, thou hearest my daily moan, and seest my dropping tears. My troubles all are thee before, my longings and my fears. Thou hitherto hast been my God, thy help my soul hath found. Though loss and sickness me assailed, through thee I've kept my ground. And thy abode thou hast made with me, with thee my soul can talk. In secret places thee I find, where I do kneel or walk. Though husband dear from me be gone, whom I do love so well, have a more beloved one, whose comforts far excel. O stay my heart on thee, my God, uphold my fainting soul, and when I know not what to do, I'll on thy mercies roll. My weakness thou dost know full well, of body and of mind. I in this world no comfort have, but what from thee I find. Though children thou hast given me, and friends I have also, yet if I see thee not through them, they are no joy but woe. O shine upon me, blessed Lord, e'en for my Saviour's sake. In thee alone is more than all, and there content I'll take. O hear me, Lord, in this request, as thou before hast done. Bring back my husband, I beseech, as thou didst once my son. So shall I celebrate thy praise, e'en while my days shall last, and talk to my beloved one of all thy goodness past. So both of us thy kindness, Lord, with praises shall recount, and serve thee better than before, whose blessings thus surmount. But give me, Lord, a better heart, then better shall I be, to pay the vows which I do owe forever unto thee. Unless thou help, what can I do? but still my frailty show. If thou assist me, Lord, I shall return thee what I owe. End of section 51.
Section 52 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexander. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. For the letters I received from my husband. O thou that hearest the prayers of thine, and amongst them hast regarded mine, hast heard my cries and seen my tears, hast known my doubts and all my fears. Thou hast relieved my fainting heart, nor paid me after my desert. Thou hast to shore him safely brought, for whom I thee so oft besought. Thou wast the pilot to the ship, and raised him up when he was sick, and hope thou hast given of good success in this his business and address, and that thou wilt return him back, whose presence I so much do lack. For all these mercies I thee praise, and so desire in all my days. End of section 52. Section 53 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexander. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. For my husband's safe arrival. What shall I render to thy name, or how thy praises speak? My thanks, how shall I testify? O Lord, thou knowest I am weak. I owe so much, so little can return unto thy name. Confusion seizes on my soul, and I am filled with shame. O thou that hearest prayers, Lord, to thee shall come all flesh. Thou hast me heard and answered, my plaints have had access. What did I ask for but thou gavest? What could I more desire? But thankfulness in all my days, I humbly this require. Thy mercies, Lord, have been so great, in number numberless, impossible for to recount, or any way express. O, help thy saints that sought thy face, to return unto thee praise, and walk before thee as they ought, in strict and upright ways. End of section 53. Section 54 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexander. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. In silent night, when rest I took. In silent night, when rest I took, for sorrow near I did not look. I wakened was with thundering noise, and piteous shrieks of dreadful voice. That fearful sound of fire and fire, let no man know, is my desire. I, starting up, the light did spy, and to my God my heart did cry, to strengthen me in my distress, and not to leave me succorless. Then coming out, beheld apace the flame consume my dwelling place. And when I could no longer look, I blessed his name that gave and took, that laid my goods now in the dust. Yea, so it was, and so 'twas just. It was his own, it was not mine. Far be it that I should repine. He might of all justly bereft, but yet sufficient for us left. When by the ruins oft I passed, my sorrowing eyes aside did cast, and here and there the places spy, where oft I sat, and long did lie. Here stood the trunk, and there the chest, there lay that store I counted best. My pleasant things in ashes lie, and them behold no more shall I. Under thy roof no guest shall sit, nor at thy table eat a bit. No pleasant tale shall e'er be told, no things recounted done of old. No candle e'er shall shine in thee, no bridge-room's voice e'er heard shall be. In silence ever shalt thou lie. Adieu, adieu, all's vanity. Then straight I 'gan my heart to chide, and did thy wealth on earth abide? Didst fix thy hope on mouldering dust, the arm of flesh didst make thy trust? Raise up thy thoughts above the sky, that dunghill mists away may fly. Thou hast an house on high erect, framed by that mighty architect, with glory richly furnished, stands permanent though these be fled. It's purchased and paid for too, by him who hath enough to do. A prize so vast as is unknown, yet by his gift is made thine own. There's wealth enough, I need no more. Farewell my pelf, farewell my store. The world no longer let me love. My hope and treasure lie above. End of section 54. Section 55 of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Alexander. The poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet. As weary pilgrim now at rest. As weary pilgrim now at rest hugs with delight his silent nest, his wasted limbs now lie full soft, that miry steps have trodden oft. Blesses himself to think upon his dangers past and travails done. The burning sun no more shall hit, nor stormy rains on him shall beat. The briars and thorns no more shall scratch, nor hungry wolves at him shall catch. He erring paths no more shall tread, nor wild fruits eat instead of bread. For waters cold he doth not long, for thirst no more shall parch his tongue. No rugged stones his feet shall gall, nor stumps nor rocks cause him to fall. All cares and fears he bids farewell, and means in safety now to dwell. A pilgrim I on earth, perplexed with sins, with cares and sorrows vexed, by age and pains brought to decay, and my clay house mouldering away. Oh, how I long to be at rest, and soar on high among the blessed. This body shall in silence sleep, mine eyes no more shall ever weep. No fainting fits shall me assail, nor grinding pains my body frail. With cares and fears ne'er cumbered be, nor losses know, nor sorrows see. What though my flesh shall there consume? It is the bed Christ did perfume. And when a few years shall be gone, this mortal shall be clothed upon. A corrupt carcass down it lies, a glorious body it shall rise. In weakness and dishonor sown, in power it is raised by Christ alone. Then soul and body shall unite, and of their Maker have the sight. Such lasting joys shall there behold, as ear ne'er heard, nor tongue e'er told. Lord, make me ready for that day. Then come, dear bridegroom, come away. End of section 55. End of the poems of Mrs. Anne Bradstreet together with her prose remains by Anne Bradstreet.